I don't know, is it still recording? My perspective and what I think is going on is society is a mess.
Their drive is so strong to get their next hit that these people are in such a clutches of the drug that they go to extreme lengths to do what they need to do in order to get their next dosage.
And I've seen it on all crosses of life, from a well-known, wealthy individual in the city to actually lower socioeconomic people.
When I was 21 years old, I had a surgery. I had my gallbladder removed, and the doctor prescribed me Vicodin.
My dad, he was a mechanic, but then he got an injury in his arm, and then he became addicted to pain medicine, which led to harder drugs.
And then came the sweep where they started closing down all the pill mills, you know, and there was no more pain pills to get. Couldn't get them as easily. And so heroin was cheap, and it was available.
20 years ago, I can remember talking to people, and even in school myself, and knowing the message about, you know, drugs are bad and don't go do those, and you can get hooked on one hit or whatever. But I don't think anybody ever thought about the fact that people are taking prescribed pain medication, and then all of a sudden the doctor stops giving it to them, and they're going to go out and find a $20 hit of heroin to make themselves feel better.
Val, get up, man. Oh, no.
My parents, from when I was very young, were involved with drugs and alcohol. They kind of chose that over raising their kids.
And the amount of money it costs to serve an opiate addiction soon will result in you having to buy heroin off the street, which is much cheaper and much more dangerous.
Let's just take an example. You know, the husband is hooked on drugs. He's taking the paycheck and buying drugs with it. And the wife has a job at a convenience store, and she's taking 20 out of the till every day to put food on the table for the kids.
I mean, as a kid, I was like, wow, they really must not care about us if they're over here doing whatever they want, and you're not even using this money to feed us, and we're hungry.
And eventually they get to the point where they're taking black market heroin to an unknown what type of a dosage that they're taking, and it ends up knocking out the respiratory drive, and hopefully there's somebody with them that they can call 911 and get us involved.
So the police got there, we were all dispatched at the same time, and we go in there, and the guy's sitting on the floor, and he's bent over, and he still has a needle in his arm, and he has a 2-year-old kid just running around. Now, he had been dead for several hours.
It begins to slow down the respiratory drive to the point that they can no longer take breaths on their own. So they ultimately, in their minds, they go to sleep. And what happens is, if nobody's around to help that out, whether it's through use of Narcan or us coming to intubate them if it's that far gone, they eventually suffocate, basically, because they're not breathing anymore. I can remember the early years. It was maybe an overdose on different type of prescription medicine, maybe once a month, maybe once every 2 months. But recently, probably in the last 5 years, it's been once, twice a day.
So we had to develop a partnership to increase the number of available coolers to put the overdoses in until they could be transported out.
We actually teach them how to administer Narcan. So as soon as they graduate from the academy, pass their state test, they're trained in this.
Before, you could just give them 2 milligrams of Narcan and they would wake up. And now I have to give 4 times that dose or 6 times that dose, and I give it to the law enforcement officer who's now unresponsive because he touched this new drug that's out there.
We're depressed economically here in southeastern Ohio. We have a lacking job market. These people are particularly susceptible because they don't have, they may not have hope of doing any better than what they're doing right now.
You have to be taken out of that, and you need time away. And so I feel the best way for me was getting locked up.
Obviously, high-end dealers who are profiting have got to go to prison. Sometimes addicts have to go to jail because it's the only thing that's going to make them stop.
You know, had I not gotten locked up that second time around, I don't know what would happen to me. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be sitting here. I had watched my friends die.
Every day I think about my father, and I think about just what was he thinking when he was shooting up? Like, did he even think about me? Like, I mean, I wanted him to come to my wedding if I get married. I wanted him to come to my college graduation. I wanted to see him this summer for the first time and be held by my father, and I will never get that. I guess one night he just had enough and he shot up and he died in January. Seeing him and how he turned out makes me want to be a police officer even more, because I can talk to those drug addicts. I can prevent, you know, a small percentage of that happening.
Some of these people want help, you know, and just like somebody may be trying to commit suicide, maybe that overdose is a cry for help. You know, if I overdose, maybe somebody will finally help me.
The point of being a police officer is to help someone. I mean, when you're, you know, about to arrest someone, you're changing their life.
My dad, he's been in prison since I was 2 years old. He was a very well-known gang member in and out the streets. One day, this officer pulled up next to my mother, and my mom was holding me, and he asked, "Is this Marvell's son?" And my mom said, "Yeah," and he said, "Oh, I can't wait to be arresting you like I was arresting your dad." That sparked a fire in me, and it motivated me to be not only become an officer, but be a great officer that, you know, that is very ethical and right and treating people right.
The students, you know, they're here to help. They're enthusiastic. They want the hands-on stuff that we do in these classes, along with the bookwork.
I've got 2 Hocking Police Academy graduates who work in my Vivitrol and diversion program. Every day they're out helping addicts find help and find treatment, and they're police officers.
Well, I was raised as a Christian growing up. I believe he presented this opportunity with me, and I'm taking it, and I just have faith going into this career.
Most of the instructors that we have in public safety here at Hocking College have been injured in the field and weren't able to go back and do that, but loved it enough to come in and teach the new generation or the next generation coming in.
I always looked up to police officers, and I always thought that they were really cool, and I loved the feeling that I got when I was around one. I felt safe, I felt protected.
Sitting in jail, I sat there for 2.5 years, and I never heard from my friends. I never obviously heard from my dope dealers. I heard from nobody. So I had a lot of time to reflect, and I thought, wow, you know. And once I feel like God set me down and kind of put me in a timeout. I had lost cars and houses, and I'd lost my kids, and that really was my main goal, you know, is that I wanted to do right by them.
Many of the students and these kids come in and they have this idea that they're going to go out there and save so many people. But the reality of it is you don't save that many, but you never know which one is the one you're going to save.
Society, they need a hero right now, and I believe I can be that person to make a change because I took an oath to serve and protect and be there for the community.
I feel like it's my calling to go out and help, and I'm not afraid to risk my life to save someone else's.
You know, nobody believed in me more than the staff in Hocking, and that's the truth. And it felt good when I came in and was able to say, hey, I'm here, I'm a felon, I'm also a recovering addict, but I want to work on the law enforcement side. I want to make a change, and they welcomed me. So
you have to put in the same effort and the same empathy for people on every level, because they're all the same and they're all worth saving.
Woody Hayes says you win with people, and I've got some of the best people. Some of them are Hocking grads who have dedicated their lives to trying to make this community better.
But I think it's our job to give them that base set of core values and how to, you know, empathize with a public person and treat them as if they were your family.
And you have to realize that it's not glorious. It's very little respect. People spit on you, and for police, you know, they flat out want to kill you.
Nobody had welcomed me in years. And so when they welcomed me in and said, we believe in you, We know that you can do this. Changed my life completely. It was so great just to know that I had somebody that believed in me more than I believed in myself.
It is time, and I'm here, and I'm thankful, and I promise I'm going to make a difference.
Maybe it's just the one moment that you had with them that makes the difference. That's quite powerful, even if it's only, for me, if I've only impacted one person in all those years, then it was worth it.